having people have to drop and rejoin. That sounds scary to me.
That's probably not a good idea, no.
We figured it out, though. I think Chrome is required. Now I'm waiting to make sure that the YouTube stream comes up. And
Lindsay is muted, too.
Lindsay is self-muted.
Oh, okay.
Lauren, there you go. It came off mute for
kids
just
here,
a second.
and the kids are loud, so I'm going to keep my mic muted unless I want to say something.
Well, generally it's a good policy. So the one super janky part of this, well, one of the super janky parts of this is the way we've been doing these is I like to start it out by, so we'll start with Halloween, and it's been fun to revisit the video for the episode guide for the particular episode. And then from there, we can kind of segue into talking about what you guys thought of if you rewatched, Jack and I just rewatched Halloween and Lie to Me right before this conversation.
We did.
And just tell what you thought about it. And but the Google Hangouts, I have discovered, no longer lets you share actual YouTube videos. I thought that was a function that I just was not figuring out. It does not exist. It no longer exists. So I actually have a really janky video capture card ability that I'm going to do for the next one, which should allow me to actually stream the video into the conversation. I'm going to keep this meeting open. Oh, and so what's weird, though, is apparently Chrome is required in order to join the meeting. Actually, and I want to put that in the Patreon. Jack, can you put that in the Patreon comments for the post? Yep. We've discovered the problem, Chrome required. But in order for me to share a video with you guys, I have to actually use Firefox because Chrome blacks out the frame. I don't know. So I switch over. First of all, here we go. Sorry, brain's all over the place. That's Lie to Me. And we'll get Halloween. These older videos are so strange to watch. Okay. So, once I put my own mic up to the speakers, as janky as that is, if anyone says anything, it's going to create a serious, painful echo in. So we'll hold all comments until the end.
So mute.
Yes, self mute is a good thing. All right, here we go. Share application window. Share. I think I hit all my naughty bookmarks. Kidding. I don't have any naughty bookmarks. And switch the audio over to this. Is the only writing credit for Carl Ellsworth in the entire series. In an interview, he stated that he was called into Joss Whedon's office expecting to get notes on his first script and was instead let go. It's something he attributes to being a young writer and not really knowing how to write dialogue for characters in high school. I bring this up because Halloween regularly breaks into fans' top 20 lists. The episode is dense but never feels overplotted. It has major implications for the series lore, including the introduction of Ethan Rayne. Given the rumors that Joss had a hand in nearly every script, I wonder how much of this classic episode came down to his 0-hour rewrites. All right, the old music. After a vampire fight in a pumpkin patch, Buffy nervously calls off a date with Angel when she sees him sharing a laugh with Cordelia. The school is doing a volunteer Halloween program where the students escort trick-or-treating kids, and Snyder forces the gang into service.
Note his interesting take on the volunteer concept.
Willow and Buffy commiserate over the insecurities that come from dating someone 200 years older than you and decide the situation warrants further research. They steal one of Giles' Watcher diaries to read up on Angel. On one of the pages, the diary shows a drawing of a noblewoman.
Who is she?
It doesn't say, but...
Well, actually, I think it says right here, Sarah. However, I like to think that this was probably an alias, or maybe the artist, and that this image is actually a drawing of someone very important to Angel's early life, Cordelia comes in and flatly states her intentions to go after Angel, something she's been taking passive stabs at for several episodes now. Later, at a costume shop, Buffy finds a dress similar to the drawing in the Watcher Diary, and after making a deal with the English shop owner, decides to spend an evening as the woman her insecurities tell her Angel is really looking for. Drew shares a premonition with Spike indicating something is going to happen on Halloween that will make the Slayer weak. Someone new has come. I'm not entirely sure what Willow is dressed as here. I get that Buffy is trying to get her to be a little more risque, and I understand the sexy costume idea. I've heard of sexy nurse, sexy kitten, sexy pizza, sexy french fries, sexy George R.R. Martin, but what is Willow's?
I'm a ghost.
Yes. The ghost of what exactly?
Anyway, Willow succumbs to her anxiety at the last minute and goes with a fully covered ghost outfit instead. Meanwhile, our British shopkeeper performs a ritual which turns everyone into the outfits they're dressed as, and chaos ensues. Willow corrals the gang at Buffy's house and goes to get Giles. Old-timey Buffy sees Angel vamp out defending her and runs off. Giles and Willow figure out the costume shop is the source of the chaos. At the shop, they confront the owner, Ethan, who apparently has a history with Giles.
Hello, Ethan. Hello, Ripper.
Xander saves Buffy from his bully, who has turned into a pirate. Spike attacks the group with a cadre of befriended child monsters, and Giles beats the fix for the spell out of Ethan, changing everyone back just in time. The basic premise of the Scoobies turning into their costumes provides so many opportunities to discuss the dualities inside our characters. Normally, we get a Buffy-centric episode or a Xander-centric episode, but here is an episode that gives us insight into nearly every character at the same time. Like Ethan's statue of Janus, the Roman god of beginnings and transitions that looks forward and backward, there is an internal struggle occurring in each of our characters. Light and dark, strength and vulnerability, sexiness and shyness, weakness and power, and Cordelia. I think there are two thematic interpretations here that are both valid. The first is that all these internal struggles represent some kind of transition to adulthood, and that interpretation fits very well into the show so far. We've talked at great lengths about Buffy embracing adulthood and how the Slayer path is the metaphor for that. Here, she sheds the Slayer entirely and reverts to a more childlike state, the results being disastrous. That interpretation would put a very obvious better or worse on the halves of each character's internal struggle. The problem for me is Giles. Giles receives the most significant reveal of the bunch. Finally, we get a nice meaty bit of character development in the reveal of Giles's dark past as Ripper. What's interesting is his reveal comes without the apparent aid of a costume, except
Who you are. The Watcher. Sniveling, tweed-clad guardian of the Slayer and her kin? I think not.
according to Ethan, Giles donned his costume a long time ago. For just a moment, as Giles beats Janice's undoing out of Ethan, we see in his face and his actions the man he once was entirely. The Ripper returns for a moment, and it's chilling. Early in the episode, when Buffy is campaigning for Willow to wear the sexy costume, she makes what I consider to be an inaccurate statement.
It's come as you are at night.
But Giles has a more telling line.
It's quite a little act you've got going here, old man. It's no act. It's who I am.
Giles is both his costume and Ripper. The two are not mutually exclusive, but rather two parts of the same whole. Buffy is both strong and vulnerable. Willow is shy and sexy. The costumes may have provided them the medium for expressing an underdeveloped element of themselves, but that element was always present from the beginning regardless. What is important is balance. Under Janice's spells, Xander, Buffy, and Willow become that element entirely, which is no better, and sometimes, especially in Buffy's case, far worse. But Giles has choice and ultimately saves everyone by choosing to summon another side of himself. The episode is just so damn charming. I loved Angel's very unbroody and unusually bright date shirt. The way Willow and Buffy come up with the plan to steal the Watcher diaries and then their heads pop up in the library window. If I have a complaint about the episode, it's that it splits its villains between Ethan and Spike. You can never have too much Spike, but you can have too little, and in this episode he feels like a bit of a stakes-raising throw-in. He does very little but menace, and his presence feels greatly overshadowed by Ethan and Ethan's relationship to Giles. To me, it had kind of a diminishing effect on Spike's presence so far this season. Xander mentions he prefers spandex, and Willow later comments,
You should see what Cordelia was wearing. A unitard with cat things like ears and stuff.
curiously, Xander and Cordelia are being nicer and nicer to each other. Huh. Stop. Need to switch my sound back.
Hey, I just
Okay. Yeah, those old ones. The old ones were much funnier. I kind of miss the random humor throw-ins. Also, that was a huge spoiler. Jess, my friend Jess's sister, is currently watching the show, and Jess has been complaining that there were actual spoilers included in the guide. And that one with Cordy and Xander is pretty on the nose at the end there. I have no idea how far along Quinn. Why can I stay? How far along What's My Line is. That's only a couple episodes away, right?
Hmm.
Well,
away.
What'd you say, Lauren?
IMDb away.
Yeah. I'm losing window. I have so much stuff up. I'm losing windows here. I should actually have that up. Well, out of curiosity, who all did the rewatch? As though it's homework.
I did. I did homework for the first time ever.
Angle that down slightly. So Nathan, you did the rewatch. How'd you feel about it? I was showing to my boyfriend. He's never seen it. Showing him the guides. He complains mildly about spoilers. Yeah, tell him I'm sorry.
I like the spoil. Well, I guess I've seen it so many times, but I find they're benign. They're so subtle.
Yeah.
And if you're that sensitive to
usually.
spoilers, maybe don't watch a deep dive metaphorical analysis of a show.
Yeah, usually that one was pretty on the nose. Xander says he likes women in spandex. She's wearing the cat outfit. They're getting along.
Well, I don't think it's a hard leap that Xander would be attracted to Cordelia.
Yeah, and they're
It's not a subtle hint, really.
It's not a death. I'm not broadcasting the gift. And in fairness, the show itself has flash forwards. The show itself has spoilers if you look closely enough. Miles to go, counting down from 730.
Just quickly, Boris says that it's 3 episodes after.
Boris is the lore keeper. Thank you, Boris. So Nathan, why don't you go ahead and start? How'd you enjoy the rewatch? Did you notice anything? I'm currently actually re-binging, so I did that body rewatch last week, and that led to the video that's now posted on the channel with the reading, and then I've been watching since then. So the contrast of jumping between 5 and 2 is, in terms of the visual aesthetics and how everything developed and the acting and everyone looks older is crazy in like 3 or 4 years. But what'd you think, man?
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it because I hadn't seen that episode in a while, and I think Halloween was actually the point in the show where I went, "Oh, I'm in." Like, it wasn't Prophecy Girl, it was Halloween where I went, "I'm in. I'm gonna watch the rest of it," because I had it all. I had the first season and a half on VHS, and I was watching it through then. And when I got to Halloween, I then bought the rest of it on VHS on eBay. Wow. So,
how long ago was this? First of all, you said VHS and eBay.
So I would have been so a good 13 years ago, like about 15 years ago.
Here, I want to make sure that I don't know what the stream is seeing. It shouldn't be on me the entire time. There we go. That should fix the problem. There's something like it's a Whedon episode, right?
Yeah.
And there's something literally and figuratively strangely magical about the Whedon episodes. And that one, is that one? No, that one's not a Whedon episode. Yeah. Lie to Me is a Whedon episode. Oh, that's right, because we opened with the talk about how he got fired after writing that episode. It just feels like there's so many Whedon touches to that one. Like it has some of that magic.
All like the interactions between all the characters just always work, and it just feels so sort of fun, even though there is like bits of drama. But it's just one of those episodes I sit down and just really enjoy, and this rewatch was exactly the same. So
Yeah. And it's interesting too how there are so many ripples, how significant that episode is for the whole series. What with Xander's, I mean, you've got Ethan Rain, you've got the Ripper aspect of it, you've got Xander's army training, which comes
how
up
many
again
times
and
is that?
again.
Yeah.
It's such an adorable, like, oh, how do we write ourselves out of this corner? Well, Xander knows how to be an army guy. Let's just steal a rocket launcher. It's
I
so
like how it gets more and more like it fades over time, and it's almost like he's grasping at some points to be like, yeah, I had the army thing at some point.
yeah, he does say it has faded later on, but I think the army training does make an emergence at least 3 or 4 times throughout the rest of the series.
Yeah.
Lauren, did you rewatch?
I did not. I only just became one of your Patreon people, so it didn't even occur to me to rewatch these episodes. I really should have.
Well,
Well
no, that's
done. I'm
that's
usually
okay.
that person. That's
Yeah.
usually me, so I don't feel bad this time.
Oh,
Don't worry, Jack
I-
rewatched for you.
remembering it though, like I want to say Halloween was the first season 2 episode I watched. Like I missed all the ones that came before it. I mean, because I was in high school so many years ago. I was a freshman in high school, and so I had to do all like my homework and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so watching, I want to say Halloween was one of the first episodes of the season 2 that I was able to see when it aired, and of course I loved it, and all my friends were loving it. But like a lot of it I didn't see until like they finally started releasing them on DVD. Like I didn't see the season 2 finale becoming until well after it had aired. So
Well, I was the same age Buffy was. I went to when she was a sophomore, I was a sophomore, junior, senior. I went to school at the same time. My best friend loved the show and kept trying to get me to watch it, but I was the guy that I now hate. I was the guy who was like, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, that sounds stupid. Like, I was that idiot, and now I'm like trying to get my friends as adults to watch it. Like, God, I hate myself vicariously through you right now. So I totally understand. I didn't watch it until I was 30, 34, I want to say.
wow.
Was the first time. Yeah. And then I watched it twice and then made Why You Should Watch Buffy, and here we are. So, but it's funny. You mentioned that you hadn't that was the first episode in season 2 that you watched. You're really not missing much. You've got School Hard and When She Was Bad.
Well, and I mean, I liked the character of Inca Mummy Girl. Like that episode really did have potential, and I liked how Buffy saw so many similarities between her and Ampada.
Yeah.
And her little speech to Xander at the end of the episode, and I am going to come out and say it. Xander is my least favorite of the Scoobies. He really pisses me off a lot of the times. But
Deep breaths, Jack.
I did genuinely feel for him in that episode, and
in Inca Mummy Girl.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that the first instance of his terrible love life was Teacher's Pet.
Yes.
And then followed by Inca Mummy Girl. So yeah, Xander is an incredibly polarizing character. So
yeah,
that's not actually Jack and I were rewatching Lie to Me together, and we almost got in an argument for one comment Xander made in the episode.
Literally one comment.
Yeah, Lindsay, did you rewatch? Do you? You don't have to talk if you don't want to. Go ahead.
Yeah, I did. I rewatched actually the whole series about 3 months ago.
wow.
So I count that as a rewatch.
Yeah, that perfectly counts. What do you feel about the episode?
I love this episode. Any of the episodes, when you watch the series a number of times like I have, I didn't watch it until my 30s either, but when you are invested in the characters, any episode that makes them be a little bit different than their usual character is
Yeah.
like a fun thing, like tabula rasa or however you say that.
No, you got it. I think as far as I know.
Yeah. Yeah, any of those episodes where they forget who they are and they act a little out of character is really enjoyable to watch when you're when you're learning new things about their character. Even in tabula rasa too, you learn new things about their character because they aren't themselves.
That's interesting. That I think that particular trope that you're describing has made for some of the most successful episodes in the series. Another one would be Doppelgangland, where they're the dark versions of themselves, the Dark Slayer. Who Are You? Where Faith and Buffy switch. That's interesting. How any chance to see the characters in a different light or behaving differently is makes for a ton of fun. I'm pretty sure, I always forget about this episode, but I'm pretty sure it's one of the top 3 or 4 episodes in season 2.
Okay.
Right? I mean, you've got Becoming Part 2, Surprise and Innocence, Phases? No, I'm just kidding. Like what else is up there? It's a shockingly good episode. I'm sort of ambivalent about What's My Line. But I know that people love Kendra.
Chick fight.
Yeah. Amy, right? When I hover over your little thumbnail, it says "Eat, Breathe." So I was actually having to pull that from my terrible memory. Did you do the rewatch? What did you think?
I'm sort of rewatching it now. So I started a rewatch, I don't know, a few months ago. So I'm up through the beginning of season 4. So it's been a while since I've watched it. But I enjoyed like watching your recap of it. Like one of the things I really liked about rewatching Buffy so many times was that so many times it's like, oh my gosh, I never noticed that before. And it's just some little subtle thing that happened. And so just now rewatching your video, I'm just like, oh my God, I never noticed that before. Oh my God, I never noticed that before. And I've probably watched your videos 3 or 4 times. And it just kind of reminds me of why I just get so delighted with the show.
Well, it's pretty funny. My Jess's sister has been watching the episode guides after every episode, and they came over and we were merry and watching several episodes of the show, but watching the episode guide afterwards. And I watching it was going, oh yeah, I forgot about that thing with I sit there, I write, I come up with the ideas, I do all of that, and then it sort of just passes out of existence again. So it is weird how much the show delivers over and over again, just given enough time. There's so many layers to it.
Oh man, and in your videos, I mean, you're pointing out stuff I've never seen. And that whole comparison to Angel and Riley in one of the most recent, it's one of the season 4 videos.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't see that at all. And I'm sure I've watched it at least 20 times. And that might be a very conservative estimate.
Well, I'm excited for us to get to those discussions where the pathology of the characters is considerably more layered, where we have so much more experience with them, because something I never picked up on except when I was writing that script was she says, I picked him because he was Joe Normal. So she picked someone as opposite from her previous boyfriend as she could, rather than, which seems unhealthy to me, I guess, was my reaction to that. I was like, I don't think that, now I don't have the best relationship track record, but I was like, I don't think that's how you're supposed to pick.
I think you just don't know that that's what you're seeing, but somehow and that's what draws you to them.
So she didn't consciously do it, but she saw the opposite.
She saw something in him that reminded her of Angel.
Yeah.
She didn't know. I could totally be making that up, but that's a potential backstory.
Yeah. Well, I'm in the season 5 Riley stuff, and
Oh.
yeah. Well, let me check my notes for this Fighting in Straw. I was again. I'm doing a rewatch, and I'm in Buffy 5 Angel season 2, and Cordelia in the beginning of the Halloween episode, Cordelia flirts with Angel in the bronze, and that to me sort of stuck out as, oh, that's kind of a first, and that's interesting where that sort of ends up. It's like going back and seeing the tree rings and where that all sort of develops and turns out is always sort of fun.
Quite a long time later before anything.
Well, yeah, and there's always that slight weird disgusting problem of Angel being 100 and whatever, and them all being teenagers.
It's more like 200 and whatever.
Slight disgusting problem.
But then, yeah, that's the slight disgusting problem in all vampire fiction.
Yeah, that's true.
Just can't wave it.
Yeah, we'll just rabbit ears it, and everything's fine. This is all we need to do. I still, in that episode specifically, I felt like they still hadn't figured out what to do with Cordelia. So she was so distinctly the alpha in season 1, but Prophecy Girl kind of turned everything around, where she understands the necessity of Buffy and her friends and what they do, and acknowledges it in when she was bad. You quit your Joan Collins dude. You're kind of important. And in this episode, I still kind of felt like they were fishing for what to do with her, because she's not a part of the group. And whenever someone is sort of a satellite to the group, the writing feels more challenged to me because it thrives on chemistry. So she and Xander falling for each other in a couple of episodes was kind of perfect to kind of bring her back into that fold. The school, I love Snyder. God, I love Snyder. If I could vote for one character that shouldn't have died in the show, it would be Tara. But number 2 would be.
Okay, first of all, thank you for the Tara love. I am the only one in my circle of friends who likes Tara and was crushed when she died.
I love Tara.
Second, in spoilers for those who haven't seen the whole series in this chat, but on graduation day, when Snyder was yelling at the mayor in his demon form, saying, "You're on my campus."
Yeah, you're on my campus now, buddy.
I actually said, because that whole time I thought, okay, he's working with the mayor. Is he a demon too? Is he, what's going on?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Here he is yelling at the mayor, and so I said, "Oh, just eat him. He's not a demon." And the mayor ate him. And I actually said Willow's line from earlier. Oh gosh, what episode? Anyway, but I just said I was being sarcastic.
Well, what's interesting is that until that moment, you never know if Snyder's a bad guy. So him being eaten by the mayor is kind of the ultimate exoneration of his intentions. Like, obviously, he just wanted order. He just wanted quiet. That's all he wanted. And then he gets munched. It's pretty funny. So school, they sign up. Larry the bully is always sort of a challenging character for me. A couple of things occurred to me when I was watching that. First of all, the show's, it's unfair to say dubious relationship with gay characters, but Larry sort of comes out as gay and then is killed by the mayor snake. And then Tara very much fulfills the bury your gays trope, which they acknowledged after the fact. The interesting thing about that trope is that I've seen it happen on other shows, and every time the writers come out afterwards and say, "Oh, we didn't even know that was," it's just a lack of education. So that's tough. But another thing that I was thinking about was how often Xander's stories are tied to bullying. There's Larry. There's what's his name in the Zeppo, and how much that mirrors his relationship with his dad. Was something that occurred to me at the end of Restless, his dad coming down and attacking him. And we've gotten into this discussion before, but I'm kind of always of the opinion that Xander's story is incomplete, because the child of an alcoholic, that kind of struggle doesn't resolve itself in a year or two. So I don't know that it would have been honest if it had been complete in 2 or 3 seasons after he moves out of his parents' house. But it is a challenge, and I was just thinking about that when thinking about Larry. Sorry, I'm pontificating a little bit here. Let me move through this a little faster. Classic Alpha Cordelia, pure confidence. I love Oz's line. Cordy, you're basically a big cat. He had that instant dry humor immediately. Ethan is the most underused character in the Buffyverse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of a waste because he was so good.
So good. They're seen in A New Man where he and Giles are drinking beer tanked. I've just poisoned you. Just kidding. And they both start laughing. Oh, it was
I
so
honestly
good.
I think he would have worked as a season big bad, I think, because he was that good.
Well, the interesting thing is he's not evil. And that's
True.
I don't remember if I brought that up in the guide.
Yeah, he's not
But,
evil, he's just kind of selfish and yeah.
I missed the opening of the guide that was is that the one that opens in the graveyard where she's prepping for the SATs and Giles says be all things tend towards chaos. Well, the symbolism of so she's prepping for a test, and the symbolism of the answer is all things tend towards chaos. The answer is the which of the following best reflects the message of the passage? Something. B, all things tend towards chaos, which is the definition of entropy.
Yeah.
And that is Ethan Rayne. Ethan Rayne is not evil. He's not good. He's not evil. He's chaos.
Yeah.
So it might have been, I wonder how he would have held up as a big bad.
I think he could have worked, and he was just so charismatic. But sadly, Robin Sachs passed away 5 years ago. So yeah.
Did he?
Oh.
Yeah. He had a heart attack. I was looking it up the other night. Sad.
Huh.
Yeah.
Does anyone have a little problem? This might just be me overreacting, but does anyone have a little problem with Buffy pressuring Willow into the sexy outfit? Is that just me?
I think that's just you.
Okay.
Maybe it's guys. I mean, I've certainly had similar situations where I felt like it was for my own good.
Well, when she puts her arms around herself and says, "This just isn't me." It's so sad. I'm just like, let her do the stuff with the planet.
Yes, that is true as well. How many? Yeah.
I mean, I thematically, I certainly understand how it's important to the plot, but I was still like,
I think we're more aware of that now than we were then.
That's definitely true. And go ahead.
I think too that Willow is kind of at odds with herself in these early seasons. She wants to be attractive and popular, but she can't have those things because she's always hiding. And so Buffy sees that, and she's trying to help her achieve those goals by helping her come out of herself a little bit.
So so suggesting that it actually is her, like the potential is there. She's just not.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And that Buffy wants her to, she's like pining after Xander in these early seasons, and she's unhappy, and Buffy wants her to be happy and, find someone who appreciates her. And this is Buffy's way of helping her out, Yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder how it plays into the spirit mind, heart, spirit. So spirit. I mean, you could definitely see with the burgeoning relationship with Angel, Willow's shyness as sort of relating to Buffy's hesitancy to connect with Angel. So I guess that fits thematically. And then once she and Oz discover each other, it all sort of flips.
Could it also be like Buffy's resistance to growing up? I mean, her resistance to accept her role as Slayer.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. It's been a little while since I've revisited the season 2 themes. Jack.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about Ethan's spell?
Yes. So he is praying to the Roman god Janus, or Janus as the guide says, who is the god of beginnings, endings, gates, transitions, time, duality, doorways, and passages. And he is depicted with 2 heads because he looks into both the past and the future at the same time. And one etymology of the word Janus that I could find, it talks about chaos. And it suggests that chaos is the primordial nature of Janus. That's what I could find.
I like the idea of looking into the past and the future at the same time, as sort of like thematically they're exploring different personalities or exploring different identities. And where we typically define ourselves from the past, taking a leap of faith, taking a jump that isn't evidenced by the things that have gone before requires choosing something new in the future.
Right.
If that makes sense. So I like how that plays into the theme.
And I don't understand Latin, but at one point he does say Janus, and he says carpe noctem, which is seize the night, obviously.
Seize the night.
But if Jess was here, she could probably tell us more of what he's actually saying.
Well, Jess was supposed to be here, but she's sick.
God damn it, Jess.
Chaos ensues. Cordy does not take advantage. The Angel thing seems purely for the sake of competition with Buffy. I don't want to go with you. I like the man with the musket. Do you have a musket? I was like, for all the crap David Boreanaz gets for his Irish accent, the Southern Belle. I have no idea what she was trying to do with that accent. I think it was a Southern Belle thing. The show and accents a little much.
Yeah, her acting wasn't great there. Like, she is a great actor, but not there.
Giles meets Ethan. The Ripper stuff is incredible. I think everyone loves that. And then, go ahead, Nathan.
Just like Anthony Head's just like physical acting, just like the way that his just expression changes when he's like beating out.
Yeah.
There's almost like a warrior stance.
Yeah.
Where he's rigid. That's an interesting observation. He's very, most of the time he's very casual and, sunken shoulders or whatever. And he seems like on alert with Ethan. I agree. I love that.
I dress nicer next time.
Sorry, what'd you say, Amy?
Oh, I was just getting resituated.
Oh, gotcha. And at the end, everything gets fixed. There's 2 things I noticed. Oz is driving the right-hand drive Ozmobile with the zebra print. The wheels on the wrong side of the car, which I thought was interesting. And
it's the right side here. Right side.
It's the wrong side in this country.
I'll fight you, damn it.
They're in California. Come on now.
Yeah, exactly.
Versus 4.
And Angel says he hated the women of his time, simpering morons, the lot of them. And holy cow, does that line thud for me. It's like he projected back into old-timey speak that he never actually used because we've seen the Ireland stuff. Just a weird...
Yeah.
Imagine if he said it in his weird Irish accent.
I always thought that too. I thought simpering morons was a weird thing for Angel to say.
Yeah, isn't that a bit much? Like
I would expect to hear it from Spike first.
that would make much more sense. Like I definitely hear Spike saying that, but
It's
for
definitely something Giles would say.
for Angel to go so top shelf with his terminology to put down all of the women of his time.
Yeah, pretty sexist too.
Yeah.
I mean,
weird
like
line.
women were trained to act differently back then. I mean, societally, I get that that's like what the idea he was trying to portray, but he's basically saying every single woman of his day was a simpering moron, which is like a really sexist thing to say.
Yeah, get over yourself, bro. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, and especially
Not
when
like he was a wonderful catch back then either.
Yeah, exactly.
But especially when we see him in his flashback when he first sees Darla. I mean, she was in that old timey dress and wow, that was very low cut. But
yeah,
I mean, he goes right up to her, like she just glances at him, and he's following her. It's like, okay, so you're a liar too.
yeah, it's a bit much, but that was everything I had on the episode. Does anyone have something else they want to throw out on that one? Is that the only Halloween episode? Someone's yelling at me already.
I know there's one more. That's Fear Itself.
Fear Itself. Thank you.
This is definitely my favorite of the Halloween episodes. So it's really fun.
There's
it's
a
great idea.
There's a season 6 one with
oh yeah,
where they're dressed as pirates in the. I love that they have the seasonal traditions within the show. Sometimes that feels like a bit of a gimmick, but this is a very special episode of Charlie Brown, and it's so important to the series. It has all of this weight. Like I love that they include that sense of time within the seasons themselves. They don't always do that.
Yeah, I watch Pangs every Thanksgiving.
Yeah. That whole first run of season 4 is incredible, but it's like the comedy is another world. Yeah, that one's.
Whenever I think of Pangs, it's always just like Spike in the chair to getting shot with arrows, not the heart.
And I'm like, you made a bear, undo it.
Yeah, that's one of the most famous ones. That one also has one of my favorite shots, which is a weird thing to celebrate. But like in Amends, when Angel is drunk on bloodlust and looks up at Buffy at her neck, and the teacher,
Miss Calendar.
Mrs. Calendar, thank you, is blurry and over her shoulder behind. It's such a beautiful, creepy, haunting, artistic shot. But Pangs has that shot at the end that is so bizarre and perfect, where Buffy looks up after they've accidentally spilled the beans and the whole table is looking at her. And Spike is just... yeah, that little side eye. Oh, God, that's so good. All right, let us move on to Lie to Me, which means I put my microphone back in front of the speaker. If you all can self-mute for just the video. Let me find one of the gajillion open tabs I have. Hush feels Halloween-y. It definitely does. Sorry, I haven't been very in chat. I'll hang out afterwards, guys, and sort of run through. Let's minimize this. Lie to Me. This is we did so when I did the book giveaway a few months ago, this was voted as everyone's favorite episode of the guide, which is funny. I'll talk about it afterwards. Okay, so I have to switch my sound to the speakers off the headphones. Set as default device. There we go. And then I need to.
Funny how that is the best.
Whoa!
And the worst thing.
Whoa! Started too soon. Application window. And here we go. Lie to me. Share. Over the course of Buffy's 7 seasons, Joss Whedon wrote and directed 22 episodes, most of them the best in the series. A few of them are some of the best episodes of television ever made. If there is a problem with Lie to Me, it is that it's Whedon competing with himself. In a list of Buffy top 10, it would be number 11. Funny how that is the best and the worst thing you can say about it. I love this episode, and I think that it holds a uniquely important place in the series. I'm just going to stop real quick. It's always bizarre to me, the musical selections that I made, and this is really weird. I'm so happy that it has an actual theme instead of the rando dando music. Drusilla is prowling for a snack when she runs into Angel, who tells her to leave town.
Take Spike and get out.
Oh, you'll hurt me.
I love the look of shame on Angel's face here as the torments he inflicted come back to him. Buffy happens upon the two of them and gets all anxious. I don't know what she's worried about. Vampires are really handsy. For all she knows, they're talking about the cost of rent. Buffy introduces Willow and Xander to a new Sunnydale student, Ford.
Ford and I went to Henry together in LA.
They meet up later at the Bronze, where Angel lies about his previous evening and Buffy doesn't call him out on it, but instead takes a passive-aggressive walk with Ford. On the walk, Ford catches her slaying a vampire.
I know you're the Slayer.
Angel asks Willow to check into Ford, and she invites him in, then finds out Ford isn't even a student at Sunnydale. Ford and Buffy run into a pair of vampires, and while Buffy is indisposed, Ford coerces information out of one of them. Angel, Willow, and Xander stumble on a vampire counterculture club that Ford is a member of. The vampire that Ford said he killed steals one of Giles' books, and Buffy realizes something is amiss. On that note, Ford goes and sees Spike to procure a deal.
You make me a vampire, and I'll give you the Slayer.
Buffy confronts Angel and asks who Drusilla is, and Angel confesses to Drusilla being the culmination of all his evil. Buffy shudders and seems glad she'll never have to meet the man he was. He then warns her not to trust Ford. Buffy tails Ford to the vampire club, and he seals her into it, disclosing his plan to trade Buffy for eternal life and save himself from cancer. Ford and Buffy then have a conversation that gets to the heart of the episode.
These people are sheep. They want to be vampires because they're lonely, miserable, or bored. I don't have a choice.
You have a choice. You don't have a good choice, but you have a choice.
Buffy tries one last time to talk some sense into the others, and Ford sucker punches her. Spike and the others enter and start feeding. Buffy knocks Ford unconscious and uses Drusilla to bargain for everyone's safety, locking Spike in when they leave. Ford stands up and asks for his reward, and there's a strangely haunting hanging shot of Spike and Drew. At Ford's grave, Buffy and Giles talk about the complexity of their lives, and Buffy slays Ford. Buffy asks Giles if things will ever be simple again and asks him to lie to her.
Yes, it's kind of simple.
Unsurprisingly, the writing is witty, sharp, and purposeful. I loved Xander's peanut gallery commentary throughout.
But if you guys already had plans, would I be imposing?
No, only in the literal sense.
An Angel about how the vampire nerds don't know anything about the life, as a guy walks by wearing his outfit. The final conversation between Giles and Buffy while standing over Ford's grave is achingly sweet. The mirror theme between Spike and Buffy continues.
Elena, can you please turn off Queer Eye?
Drusilla. The first time I watched the episode, Spike's jealousy over Angel seemed petty even for a vampire, but it's something that gets explained and understood later in the series. Lie to Me didn't quite land with me when I first watched it. I felt like I'd watched something with a certain amount of wisdom beneath it, but I was too distracted by surface details to appreciate it. I felt like the episode wanted me to identify or empathize with Ford enough so that I would ask myself the question, what would I do in his circumstances? The problem for me was his decision was so manifestly evil that I couldn't for a second put myself in his position. During my rewatch of the episode, one of Buffy's lines made me realize my mistake.
Isn't this exactly how you imagined it? You tell me how you suffered, and I feel sorry for you.
Ironically, I think I had been stuck trying to watch the episode the way Ford had been wanting me to. But the episode isn't about Ford or me, it's about Buffy, and unlike my untested faith in my own goodness, we have a reason to believe the things Buffy says. She made an incredibly difficult choice in Prophecy Girl. She chose to go to her death to save others. What is significant here is choice. While promoting Serenity in 2005, Joss Whedon said he was an atheist and an absurdist, and in the DVD commentary for the Firefly episode Objects in Space, he stated that La Nausée by existentialist Jean-Paul Sartre was the most important book he'd ever read. So, to grossly, even criminally oversimplify, one of the basic principles in existential philosophy is that the universe is completely indifferent to you. There is no true meaning or purpose to existence, no finish line, no ultimate goal.
Doesn't
what?
mean anything. The greater scheme, the big picture.
Can everyone still hear? All right, just making sure because I saw the comment. All right, here we go.
Nothing we do matters. There's no grand plan, no big win.
An existentialist sees that as both terrible and wonderful at the same time, as it means we are free to create our own meaning through our choices. But not only that, we are required to choose, because if we don't, there is no meaning. To some people, existentialism seems bleak, but there is something reassuring to know that the power to live a meaningful life rests inside each of us. Now let's consider Buffy and Ford again. For sure, the universe is indifferent to Ford. It has given him cancers that are liquefying his brain, and Ford has said,
I don't have a choice.
this is what an existentialist calls acting in bad faith. Individuals can never escape or have taken away their freedom to choose, even in overwhelming circumstances. If you assume that one choice you have takes undeniable precedence over another, then you have made yourself an object in the world at the mercy of its circumstances. To put it another way,
You have a choice. You don't have a good choice, but you have a choice.
this scene between Buffy and Ford could be read as a philosophical mission statement for the rest of the series. Buffy always chooses friends, circumstances, destiny. Her life is filled with meaning, and what she says to Ford will be relevant in her own life again and again and again. Let's consider that line in context from later in the season.
I don't have a choice.
You have a choice. You don't have a good choice, but you have a choice.
In doing some research for this episode, I was reminded of one of my favorite quotes. In an interview, Stanley Kubrick was asked if life is purposeless, does he feel it is worth living? He responded, "The very meaninglessness of life forces a man to create his own meaning." Children, of course, begin life with an untarnished sense of wonder, a capacity to experience total joy at something as simple as the greenness of a leaf. But as they grow older, the awareness of death and decay begins to impinge on their consciousness and subtly erode their joie de vivre, their idealism, and their assumption of immortality. As a child matures, he sees death and pain everywhere about him and begins to lose faith in the ultimate goodness of man. But if he's reasonably strong and lucky, he can emerge from this twilight of the soul into a rebirth of life's elan. Both because of and in spite of his awareness of the meaninglessness of life, he can forge a fresh sense of purpose and affirmation. He may not recapture the same pure sense of wonder he was born with, but he can shape something far more enduring and sustaining. The most terrifying thing about the universe is not that it is hostile, but that it is indifferent. But if we can come to terms with this indifference and accept the challenges of life within the boundaries of death, our existence as a species can have genuine meaning and fulfillment. However vast the darkness, we must supply our own light. All right.
God, I love that video.
Hang on. Now I have to do 50 things. Well, I'm curious. You screen sharing, stop screen sharing. There's my face. Hi, everybody. Hello, Kara. I'm glad you made it in. So first of all, I wanted to just mention that usually we go for an hour, and that hour is now. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to hang in to go over everything we've got. But if anyone needs to drop off, no worries. It's been a pleasure. And for everyone new who signed up for the Patreon after my full-time announcement, well, for everyone who is signed up, I'm grateful and I appreciate it. Thank you. I have had a horrible bout of insomnia since making that announcement. So, you're in the old meeting again. Here we go. Let me give you the proper link. There you go. That's why I stay in both meetings. Yeah, I've been getting about 2 hours sleep a night. Gonna work on Angel after this. So lie to me. That seems kind of apropos with what's going on. Who did the Nathan? You said you did the rewatch. Who did the reading?
Oh my God, you can hear me? That's my
Yes.
sister on the other couch. Hi.
Hi,
She
Kara,
said she
sister.
didn't know Buffy was so philosophical. I did the rewatch, as in rewatch YouTube clips applied to me while I was in the hospital. So
Well, what are your feelings about the episode? What do you think?
I think it's one of the first episodes struck me like, oh, this is something different.
Mhm.
Kind of. Because as said in your video, I also viewed it as like, well, Ford's obviously in the wrong. And I started thinking, it's not Ford, it's about Buffy.
Right. Everything. The episodes that don't relate to Buffy specifically are rare, like Wild at Heart.
Yes.
Yeah.
And watching it like for the second time or like the millionth time, I don't really know how many. I probably shouldn't. It's probably a big number. Like you can kind of feel almost that palpable, like, yeah, he doesn't have a good choice. It's probably very painful, but at the same time, it's still like, you have a choice between doing this entirely monstrous thing of feeding all those people and then, or, dying yourself. And it made me think of like, actually, in season 5, the end of season 5, how, and this is probably really weird, like a really weird, sorry, I'm not good with words. I'm kind of on pain meds still. So
We're just hanging out.
so it reminds me, Buffy is faced with a choice in season 5 where she's like, it's, Dawn, might be, as Giles points out, if this ritual starts, then Dawn might be sacrificed or something similar to that.
Yeah. There's a false dichotomy in season 2, or season 5 rather. I'm watching it right now, and the idea of choice is tantamount in that season. But so is it too, not realizing that it's only binary. It's not death or what have you.
I think it's interesting because Buffy kind of has a similar decision when she realizes that it's her who can also close the portal.
Mhm.
Whether she can sacrifice someone else and be alive, or it can be her that sacrifices it and everyone else is going to be alive.
Yeah.
So it just kind of reminded me of that when I rewatched the episode.
Well, I hope that I'm going to mute you for just a second, Kara, because I'm getting an echo off yours. I hope that in watching the guides, there's a everyone has a bell in their own heads, because I've said the word choice about 50 billion times. And so anytime you hear the word choice in the show, it's never by accident. Lauren, did you have something you wanted to say? Oh, you're muted. You got to unmute yourself.
Sorry, no, I got a text and somebody said,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
No worries. Well, anyway, so in regards to Lie to Me, and I'm just working left to right from my face. Nathan, what did you think about during your rewatch? Anything come up for you?
Nothing specific. Most of the points that you got on in your video, and definitely rewatching it since getting all of the context, because I watched the show for the first time when I was a lot younger, so I just sort of watched it on such a surface level and enjoyed it, and then through more rewatches and this rewatch, I was sort of appreciated its depth, and then just genuinely, again, character interactions just being really fun.
Well, I'll admit, I actually didn't like the episode until I read, and he deserves acknowledgement in absolutely everything I do and say ever for the rest of my life. Mark Field's book, Myth, Metaphor, and Morality in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I think the key for me is once I got that episode is not about him, but it's about Buffy, it changes the dynamics of everything. It changes the meaning. It changes the purpose. It changes the Like the conflict of it is not really about him. It's her lesson to learn about choice, and that line, "You don't have a good choice, but you have a choice," is one of the most powerful lines of any piece of fiction I can remember. Once I got it, and that sounds incredibly hyperbolic because it's such a simple phrase, but that to me is what makes it so powerful. Because certainly in emotionally or psychologically in certain situations, you're like, well, it feels the choice is not obvious because it feels so awful. So that wasn't particularly eloquent either, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm unscripted as well, Kara. See, so.
Also, I was going to say, when you were talking about the bell for every time you hear the word choice,
Yeah.
anytime, that's like gone across to not just your videos or things like other shows as well, where suddenly they start talking about it and they'll suddenly just go, wait a second.
Yeah, I hear it even when they're not meaning it. Like I hear the word Troy, like, oh, is this something? Oh no, they're just. It's like choose your flavor of ice cream you're looking for, or whatever the thing actually is. Amy, tell me about what you feel about the episode. Your thoughts. Oh, you're on mute. I can't unmute you. You got to unmute.
There we go.
Yeah.
So I am a huge Xander hater. And
I know. I've received your messages.
Yes. Spirit. I think I had very valid points. But anyway, there were two moments to me that were so endearing to him in this episode. And the one is where he's being all sarcastic with Ford and saying, oh no, only in the literal sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they're at the Bronze playing pool, and I can't remember exactly what Ford says about Angel, but then Xander says, "You're not wrong."
Oh, cold hands. You're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
I have worked that phrase into my vernacular.
I have too. I think because of that.
You're not wrong. I just love it so. And I'm glad that I have a few endearing moments to Xander because I just don't particularly care for him.
Well, he so Lonnie from, I don't want to say Dusted, I believe that was the old podcast. Lonnie calls him the patriarchal Trojan horse. And don't worry, Jack, we're not getting into this just yet.
Good.
But I think that's a fascinating term for him. But I do think that he does get some of the funniest lines in the show.
Oh yeah.
And as quick as he is to comedically tear his friends down, which I think is ultimately part of the problem, he's also one of the first people there. So he is a very, to some degree, like the level of dissonance to his character, I think, is also sort of realistic. Now, that's not a
absolutely.
Yeah, that's not a defense of bad behavior, but I think it's also he's also sort of grounded that way. I just wish that the show addressed certain major events from the series that involve him that they didn't.
Actually, I think, part of the problem is, and I think someone mentions it in one of the DVD commentaries, in just talking about the awkwardness of Xander, even though he's ridiculously attractive.
That's in the, I forgot where I read that, but they actually told him to stop working out.
Yeah.
When he comes out in Go Fish in the Speedo, the banana hammock, and he's just,
he's ripped.
I read that in fuck, it was a book and I forgot what book it was called, and that's gonna bother me.
Hot back in those shows.
Go ahead, Amy.
Oh,
you were going to say something about his looks.
Oh yeah, just it's hard to sympathize with him to being that awkward looking. my own, I guess. I feel like confidence comes from. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's hard to sympathize with him being awkward because of his looks,
Yeah.
right? But if, that's so interesting. I want to play with that for a second. So let's say he were more neckbeardy, and I'm gesturing specifically, like how would that affect the interpretation of the character? I mean, if something is vile, then it still is. Do you think that his handsome looks allow people to forgive that more often?
Probably.
Interesting. I suppose this like the same would be true of Cordy as an example, a mean, beautiful woman. Well, it's something I'll have to think about. Lindsay,
I think that's my
I
own
apologize, Amy,
idea.
go ahead.
Oh, I think that's my own idea that confidence comes from attractiveness, which just might be as ludicrous as any other idea.
That's interesting. Lindsay, what are your thoughts on the episode?
Well, I didn't really like it the first time I saw it. I didn't really like it until I watched your episode guide and felt like I understood that it had some deeper themes I missed the first time I was watching. But we haven't talked about the introduction of and now I'm forgetting her name.
Chanterelle.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's in my notes.
Later becomes Anne. Yeah.
Yeah, that stands out to me because I got to the episode where she is in Angel, where she's running the shelter.
Yeah.
And they I don't know if they're pretending or what, but they say they don't know each other. He steals her wallet at the beginning of the episode and then goes to her shelter. And it's the one with the Wilfram and Hart bidding war at the end. But they never acknowledge that they've met before.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love her character. I mean, I know she's kind of minor and we don't see her very often, but I love the growth that we see of her over time. She's obviously a person in pain and she sort of finds her way, and I just I like her a lot. So I like this episode because it introduces her as that character.
She has a strangely powerful line at the end of it, Angel season 5, where Gunn says to her, "What would I tell you if none of this? What would you do if I said none of this matters? That all of this is controlled by someone else, and none of this actually means anything." And she says, "I'd say you'd better help me get these boxes inside before it starts." It's like she has the definitive existential acknowledgement in that episode of, "Here's what I choose. Here's the next thing. Here's how I'm moving forward." Like, Gunn's universe is enormous and collapsing and destructive and dark and terrifying. And she says, "All right, help me with these boxes. Let's get this inside and keep things moving." It's really powerful.
Hey, Ian, just quickly, you got a donation on YouTube.
Oh, Jill, the Digital Dream Girl, thank you for the donation. And I cheers all donations, so I appreciate it. Thank you. She goes, Chanterelle. What's
Lily?
Lily, thank you.
Lily on the tattoos.
And then Anne.
Lily and Ricky.
No, it was because when I watched it for the first time, I'm not sure if I was paying attention properly, but when I didn't, I thought some of the people that in the Vampire Club died, including her.
Yeah.
Like, I thought because but so then when she then appeared in Anne, I was like, oh, she was fine. But then when I was rewatching, I was just like, oh yeah, no one died. It was, I mean, apart from Ford, but like
hers is such an interesting tangential parallel to the entire fiction and her development that occurs along with it. It's definitely something I'll need to acknowledge in, I think, both the Chosen episode guide and the Angel season 5, or not Fade Away guide, are going to be like 35 minutes long.
Good.
I like the way it can show that you know, you don't have to have superpowers to be a hero.
In Lie to Me?
In that the later at the end of Angel, when she
yeah.
like
Yeah.
in the choices that she's made along the path, and this is where she's ended up, and that there's nothing special about her. I mean, she has other than she has the normal struggles of everyone we have a lot, and she's made some amazing choices that made her like really altruistic.
Yeah, meaning is not imbued; it's earned through choice and action, definitely, and that's reflected in Nathan.
Sorry, I was just gonna say it was just sort of it is nice to see her like at several points throughout the show, from like towards the start to right at the very end, in like timeline wise.
Yeah, hers is a very interesting way of tracking the arc of the show. Did I miss anyone? I apologize. I was sort of rotating there and I lost track. Lauren, I don't think I got you.
I don't know. It's like you want to hate Ford. He's making this terrible choice. I mean, betraying Buffy alone. If he had just done that, maybe I would have been more willing to forgive him. But he was using everyone else's bait too. And
that's true.
But then to be in his position, to know he's going to die a slow and painful death, I don't know. I mean, you know, vampires were real, and I mean, what would you do in that situation? But I think my favorite part of the episode actually was the final speech between Buffy and Giles, and like he just gives her this great speech. You know, the good guys are stalwart and true. You can easily recognize the villains with their hats and their pointed mustaches.
It's so funny. I didn't really have an appreciation. So first, I've said I didn't really like the episode the first time I watched it. For me, the hooks were Halloween. Then once we got to Surprise and Innocence, once Innocence was over, I was like, oh, I'm in. Like, I don't care where this is going. Just take me there. But it wasn't until writing that script for the episode guide where I was like, this is such an important episode philosophically. But I guess I never really put myself in Ford's shoes. I was too much like, yeah, I would just roll up into a ball and die when faced with that particular. I think what's interesting is he is actually the villain of that episode. It's not Spike. It's him. And he is so empathetic because he does. Jack and I were watching this a minute ago, and he does get me when he says, you know what, Summers, I really did miss you. And he sounds like he's about to sob into his cornflakes. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I guess I kind of understand. But no, it's a tough episode. There's definitely a lot to it. Jack.
Yes.
Did you have any feelings about Lie to Me? I think I skipped you on the last one, brother. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I empathize with Ford completely, really. I mean, I don't agree with what he's doing, but I can definitely understand why. I can kind of relate to him. I'm not dying, but I have certain health issues that make things kind of hard, so I can relate to that. And
you talking about the choice? Like, can you talk about that?
Yeah, well, just like for me personally, it's like I can choose whether to feel sorry for myself and just stay in bed and not do anything, or I can choose to live regardless, you know, and that's what I relate to, I guess. And I love this episode. I think it's very philosophical, and it's probably one of the best of the season.
I was reading chat, and someone mentioned how they greatly relate to Willow and Buffy's the way they interact in Halloween, and that to me makes me think about that I lack the context for certain experiences.
Yeah,
you know, like I don't know that I ever stood in front of a mirror with one of my male friends and said, no, sexy you is the real you, bro. Come on. Like, You know, so I don't have the context for that experience. So I'm seeing it as a 39-year-old guy who doesn't have that kind of background, and so
and
maybe
so it's the same for this, because you don't necessarily relate to that, so it probably resonates with me a little more, but that's okay, like because it's all about experience and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, I came around. Thank you, Mark. Again, so let me grab my notes on that one real quick. Oh yeah. So first of all, that was voted as the #1 favorite video on the channel. There's 150 something videos, and that one it is not my favorite. I honestly would say it does not break into my top 10, but obviously I have very different criteria for what I say is a favorite of mine that I made versus what other people feel. I do think that, and this is, I'm curious what your guys' feelings are. I think the Kubrick quote at the end of it elevates it far beyond the episode itself. And I've already decided, I think I've said this before, that the Chosen Guide is going to end with the Kubrick quote again. But with the Kubrick quote, I specifically avoided certain shots that I didn't want to be spoilers. There's a shot, the most terrifying thing about the universe is not that it is hostile, but that it is indifferent. And so I go from a shot of Adam to a shot of Buffy in the body, but I don't show the body because that would have been a spoiler. So editing that was actually kind of complicated. But the full version of it that will be at the end of the Chosen review can show everything. And be on a proper microphone and so on and so forth. But I'm curious, like, where that, it's not particularly relevant, I guess, now that I think about it, but where that video guide would rank for people if that little bit weren't at the end of it.
I guess it's hard to tell because it is at the end of it, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Those are the moments that I like the best, when you're, there's sometimes, I can't remember the episodes, but you'll be doing, I know it happened with the mayor, whether it was graduation day or episodes before that, but it's him speaking, and then you have all these thematic shots that go with what he's saying from previously in the season.
Oh yeah.
Those blow me away.
Yeah, I get to do a lot. I get to do a lot more of those in the finales than I do the rest of the montages to sort of give context.
Yeah, the moment when you introduce Wesley into the series, that moment where everything slows down and the audio that goes over the arc of his character, I'm just like, holy shit. Oh my God, I think I feel something there.
That's everyone's third favorite video. The second was the whine and a good cry. Kara, Kara, go ahead. You got to unmute yourself though.
Oh, I personally love when you do those at the ends or whatever. I think it's so, it makes my heart rise and it feels and I'm like, damn.
So I got into a discussion with a regular subscriber, Guy, who is also
Guy. He's awesome.
Guy's good people, but he called me out.
Guy?
His name is I think his name is Guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he called me out for formula, which is a challenge when doing this kind of content. But the sort of musical montage segue at the end of it, I'm not throwing Guy under the bus. I just realized that by me calling him out directly in this sort of thing was, I don't mean that, Guy. You know, I love you.
Shout out to Guy.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Well, to me, the channel's entire shtick, I guess, which is sort of a demeaning word, is connecting media to meaning, or connecting media to personal experience. And my way of doing that is by sharing my own, which was the body reading that was up, and sort of saying, okay, here's the fiction, here's why this matters. And that inevitably leads to those sorts of montages at the end, like the one at the end of The Prodigal. I have my relationship with my father is complicated, and so that episode very specifically spoke to me. And so the when I'm talking at the end of The Prodigal, I'm speaking personally. Like, a lot of that is personal experience, and what has proven to be the case is that when I'm willing to share that kind of experience, it allows other people to sort of connect their own experience to the episode guide, if that experience is there, or if it isn't, then it sort of is what it is. But hopefully that works. I mean, I'm interested in why these things matter, and so that's sort of the spin on all that. Go ahead, Amy.
Those are my favorite moments. I don't know you, but the when you talk about your dad playing that whole story about your sister's wedding, and I think it comes up in a couple of different videos, and those moments where you go into your own personal pain, and again, we all have similar suffering through different experience, and that's totally tapped into through Buffy. So to see like the one thing feed the other thing and create these stories is, to me, that's what I get the most out of. Not that I don't enjoy everything about the guides as well.
No, you're saying it's what I get is it's working.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, those are the moments that give me the most feels.
all right.
And those are the moments that I share with my friends.
Well, I'm glad that's landing.
Mhm.
I personally think we need a little more deadpan Freud, but we'll get there. Well, let me. So I only had a couple of notes on Lie to Me. I find the episode a little slow on rewatch until that last scene. Like, once the Ford and Buffy are standing in the sealed room at the end, then it's gripping. But boy, is it a little slow leading up to that point. The park. Why is the little kid hanging? Jack and I were both like, why is this little kid hanging out in a park by himself at 10 p.m.? It's the middle of the night.
Yeah, it's not like the sun has just gone down. It's pitch black.
In Sunnydale.
Like, Mom's always late. It's like, come on, really? Like, that late?
My bedtime was 8 p.m. when I was that kid's age. Anyway, sorry. that was so I was gonna say the one that stuck out, but that's kind of a poor choice of phrasing. At school, Xander says it gives me a happy, and I was like, he's talking about his erection with his 3 or 2 female friends, 17 years old, in high school. Now, okay, we don't need to get into what the male with male experience is and what we talked about in high school, but that I just Jack, do you want to counterpoint?
Well, I think it makes sense. He's 17. He's a bit of a goofball, and he's with 2 friends that he's known for a while. And it's not like he says anything super graphic, like, I don't know, like my throbbing, whatever. I won't finish that. So I have no problem with it whatsoever.
The erection terminology. The reason why again, I don't want to say stuck out to me. The reason why it occurred to me was because
stuck out to me. I just got that.
It's in season 3. Xander is yelling at Buffy when he's found out that Angel is back from the dead, and he says something about he's going to go psycho on you every time you give him a happy, and so like. It's a lot of erection commentary. I don't know where to go with that. I'm just saying it's an unexpected amount of erection commentary. One might say too much.
It's just high school speak, really. That's what I see it as.
You're not going to say there's anything more to it, just that it's there.
It's there. Yeah. That's all I have to say about that.
I mean,
go ahead and
a lot of. Sorry.
That's
go
okay.
ahead, Karen.
Real quick, I was kind of sheltered, and so I didn't connect the dots when I first heard him say that line. I thought, oh, Xander's just being immature and stupid. which he was, but like I didn't connect the dots because I was really sheltered. It's really amazing that I was allowed to watch Buffy, actually.
Well, they used a I mean, it's not a colloquialism, it's a
Euphemism.
euphemism. Thank you. They euphemized it so that they could still comment on it or still include the joke or whatever it was. And to be honest, I missed it completely until I rewatched it today. Like, I don't remember that line and Lie to Me but in my rewatch, remembering every time Angel gives you a happy, he's going to go psycho, I was like, oh, that's okay. Again, we don't need to focus on.
Nothing can defeat the penis. Sorry.
Thank you, Jack.
I
Kara,
just-
do you want to throw in?
I just love that, like, once we get to earshot and we hear Xander's thoughts, it totally amplifies all his fun sayings.
I was a 16, 17-year-old boy. We're not going to talk about it, but I can understand what it was. It's just there is such a fine line in writing that character versus endorsing some of the uncontrollable thoughts you have as that.
Yeah. I do like the.
And my feelings are not complete on it. Like, it's tough. It's tough, and sometimes he lands, and sometimes it's a miss for me.
Are you saying the writing is endorsing it?
By not addressing certain aspects of it, it feels like an endorsement. So, and I've included shots of when Cordy says, "What am I, mass transportation?" and he says, "That's what a lot of the guys say, but it's only locker room talk." I mean, he's basically saying, like, it's a clever turn of phrase. But you see what he's saying about Cordy, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that never gets addressed. Now,
It's a lot.
Yeah, and that's it's that I think that is an aspect in which a way in which the show is dated. That's all. That's what I would say. I'm not throwing the show under the bus. It's still the most meaningful piece of entertainment I've ever consumed.
There are the odd lines that just sort of feel a bit iffy, but like not like it doesn't take down the show in the slightest. It's just one of those things which is just like, oh, I forgot that was there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, Cordy in season one of Angel, and I'm probably going to trip over my own terminology here, uses the pejorative term of handicapped when talking about Doyle, and it lands like a ton of bricks for me every time I see that. I'm like, but again, maybe that's just dated. Maybe that's what that is now.
I would go with that. I watched it in real time as it came out, and the stuff just wasn't in the conversation like it is today, and even 5 years ago. And I mean, I don't condone that in any way. It's just we seem to evolve around what we're paying attention to as a society.
Yeah.
And now we're paying attention to those things, thank goodness.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is like a lot of that hides in the dark, and once you shine a light on it, you have the choice to be better or not, and maybe that was just one of those things. By the way, we are now at like 93 minutes. I want to go ahead and I first of all, more significant than my comments on the episode itself, I think we've had a good discussion, so there's nothing in there that I was particularly dying to share, but
Sorry,
I wanted
can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no. Trying to donate from YouTube. She doesn't know how to do it.
That kills it now. You kill
You click the dollar sign.
And she's whispering to me, and she does it, and I'm just, I don't know.
There's a dollar sign in the bottom.
No, so I've done that. I did the amount and I did the message, different, the message and error message, and I keep hitting all right, and so you're either gonna get a lot of money dumb. The penis is whatever line that I. What was it? Oh, nothing can defeat the penis line that I was.
Nothing can defeat the penis.
You know, out
a
of
good
context
line.
with absolutely no knowledge of the show, this is still a very interesting conversation.
Well, I appreciate it. Let me wrap up this conversation. I'm going to stay on stream with Jack because Jack is my captive, and we'll
I can't leave.
We'll
Help
talk
me,
to the
please.
stream a
Please.
little bit.
Help!
Is that what the actual like fund of all the super chats are going to try and free Jack, not to
Yeah,
just
exactly.
free Jack from Ian.
Exactly. It's to send a mercenary team to rescue me.
So I wanted to ask you guys. So originally when we did the first Patreon discussion, Nathan was there, and it was just Jack and myself drinking wine with a couple of you, and we were just kind of having a chat, having a conversation, and we thought, why not sort of frame it around these episode discussions, and that gives us a medium to talk and sort of move through things. But I want to make sure that these are of value to you guys, and that if this is what you're interested in continuing going forward, we pick the next 2 episodes. Which I need to get Internet Movie Database up in order to do, and I will do that in a minute. And then we schedule the one for August and go from here. But I'm soliciting for thoughts on how you guys want these hangouts to evolve. Or
Well, this was my first one, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I don't know what took me so long to get on these, but yeah, I've never really had anybody that I could discuss Buffy with on this level.
Hey, I had to start a YouTube channel in order to find that, so I understand.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah, no, it's always good fun to just sort of chat about Buffy with a bunch of people, and especially like you, Ian. It's good fun.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like it too. So it's a monthly thing.
Yeah. Well, so we sort of fell off the wagon there. All right, so we'll go ahead and go with this for the next one. Jack, can you get IMDb open and get the list of what's after these ones? I think the next one we'll probably talk about is Nathan. Thank you for the donation, sir. Here's. So there's a few things to talk about, and since you guys are here, this will be quick. I know I've kept you. We're going on almost 2 hours here. I'm going full time end of August. So the pace that the channel has been at has been a Buffy video and a Angel video a month, and that's not enough. That doesn't make me happy. I have to make content for my own sanity. For me, content is sort of, it is the meaning, it is the choice, it's the work, it's whatever it is. So August, I'm going to try and have Angel done by this weekend, and then August will be sort of a test month to see what the content will be. Thing is, I'm not going to be. The goal is an Angel video and a Buffy video each week, and then something else on top of it. And there's always been other kinds of content I wanted to make: movies, reviews, live action stuff. There's a wonderful Whedon poem that I want to perform as though I was a medieval watcher. Sort of crazy off the wall stuff that I haven't had time to do because I know that this entire audience has been built around, and I'm speaking to chat right now too, has been built around these 2 shows, and that's what we're here for, and I want to honor that. At the end of Buffy season 4, I'm going to switch to Firefly. There's going to be a why you should watch Firefly video, and then an episode guide 1 through 12, and then an extended review for the movie. And then we'll switch back to Buffy season 5, Angel season 2, and go from there. Go ahead, Jack.
Well, I've got the season list up. The next 2 episodes sequentially, The Dark Age and What's My Line Part 1, but
Well, The
a little
Dark Age is terrible.
yeah, and what about Surprise and Innocence? Because before that, we've just got What's My Line Part 1 and 2,
Well,
Ted and Bad Eggs.
What's My Line is pretty important, but it is one long story. We could vote on it. Do you guys want to do What's My Line, or do you want to go? That would be the only thing we talk about the next time is parts 1 and 2.
Yeah, parts 1 and 2. What's my line? That works. For me.
Sure, I like how I can see a cattail.
I'm good with that.
All right.
All right, cool. Yeah, done.
All right. That'll be the next one. The other thing that I wanted to address is that there are. I mean, the Patreon bonuses have not been up to snuff. So part of the reason why I've launched into this this tangent is because we didn't do a meeting last month. There wasn't one for June. There wasn't one for May. We did one in April. Part of that has been the job stuff I mentioned in the post, and I just want to say that will get addressed and fixed moving forward. So, and that's really all there is to say about that.
And we're also working on the Patreon recordings as well. That'll get done pretty soon.
Yeah, I think it's the $10 donation level is I will do a performance of anything that people request, and we've turned that out once, so that is getting fixed. It's simply been a matter of time, and just the work thing we don't need to get into. But anyway, we'll go ahead and wrap up. Do you guys have any questions? Is there anything you want to throw out?
I do have a real quick funny story to share. When you brought up Firefly, a couple of years ago, movie stores are still a thing. They're very rare, but I worked in one, and my coworker, she also loves Buffy Whedon. She's a huge fan. And a customer came in and said, "Hey, I just watched the first season of Firefly. I love it. It's awesome. Where's season 2?" I swear she almost started to cry. And I just said, "Watch Serenity, and I will explain, but we're going to give her a moment." But no, it was
to some that's funny. To others, that is agony and pain and suffering.
Yeah, it's.
I haven't watched Serenity just so it wouldn't end.
Nathan, did you have something you wanted to throw out?
Oh, I was just gonna say in regards to the Patreon bonuses. For me, Patreon is supporting the channel, and then if there's any bonuses, that's great and extra plus. But I don't really. The fact that it's been slow, it doesn't really bother me because the Patreon, it's there so I can support the channel. I don't mind.
I appreciate that. Means a ton. I appreciate that. I do also look at it as like my word and my commitment, and that has been difficult to align. Is the way that I'll say that. But I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
I can only imagine how labor intensive these are, and to know you work a full-time job and get these out. I mean, I work a full-time job, and I come home and watch your videos. so I do not begrudge you when you need some extra time.
Well, there was a little stint of 3 or 4 weeks in a row. It was brief, but I do remember putting out a Buffy and an Angel video. Maybe it was 2 or 3 weeks in a row each week. It's 40 to 50 hours a week of the day job and 20 to 30 to do 2 videos. So I am excited to see how much better they can get when it's my only job. Because I like every video I put out, I see the potential for improvement and for things to be better and more expressed and honest and so forth. So,
well, and you can even see the growth through the videos, even as we watched them today, and from where you started to where you are now, is production value has increased quite a bit.
That's been the fun part of doing these. Like, I don't watch my own stuff, so watching the old videos for these conversations has been kind of fun, especially the random music selections when the thing opens. I don't understand what I was thinking.
You're probably looking for free music, so you wouldn't have to be worried about my royalties.
Yeah, but pick a lane, one that defines the whole thing.
Well, I must say it never stuck out to me.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, if you guys are good, thank you so much. To be very honest, this has been a fun hobby until the Patreon existed, and then the fact that it could be in reality be the thing that I get to do full time, is changing my life, and I am very grateful, very, very grateful. So thank you. And next, I will get the date up for the August conversation in a week or two, and we'll get that arranged. We do have there's an international set of Patreon followers. Some people, Nathan, for instance, we're in many different time zones, so I need to try and rotate them to accommodate different people who want to show up. But either way, I appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jack, you want to hang in with me for just a minute?
Yeah.
Okay. So hello, chat.
What up, YouTube? How you doing?
I just want to talk to you guys for a minute. Let's scroll up a little bit here. I saw a lot of people speaking to me directly. Jack, my co-host, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you, sir?
That was fun. These are always so fun. I get so nervous.
I know, and I
before
tell
we
you the
actually
same
start.
thing every time, and I'm right every time. Every time. So just listen to me.
Jack,
Hello, Susigalita. I don't know how to say your name. I'm sorry, but I know you. I see you around. Hello, John Bavino. Greetings, sir. Raphael Lemus. And Boris, of course. Hello, sir. Sorry.
Boris says Sokka is the better Xander. You know what, man? I agree with you. That's one of my favorite shows of all time as well. And wow, actually, they're both they both really deal with feminism too. So Sokka has a couple of episodes in the first season. Huh, that's fascinating. Go ahead, man.
Can I just say a quick thank you to Eve's Apple? I love this shirt too. Green Day, Dookie. It's a great album. Go and listen to it, friends.
Jack, how did you feel the Xander discussion went? You have the floor.
It's fine. I just sat there and didn't say anything. It's fine.
I know, but I'm giving you say what you want to say.
Well, no, it's fine. People don't like Xander. That's fine. I think he's fine, though. I think he's a good guy. I think he's got a good heart. He saves the world. Literally, he saves the world. And look,
everyone. In fairness, everyone on the show saves the world, right? And everyone screws up, right? That's not That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, okay, no, but I'm trying to build the case here. I'm trying to build the case.
Yeah. I'm just trying to keep you in the lane.
So yes, he can be a bit of a dick. I agree. He can be a bit of a dick, but it's usually based in humor. Like, I mean, you and I pick on each other a lot. It's just what we do as friends. And
I never pick on you.
No, never. Of course not. What am I saying? Sorry. Please don't fire me.
I think Jess picks on both of us, and then we cry.
Oh, Jess is unrelenting. Jess, we love you, but goddamn.
No, but the issue, I think, specifically in relation to Xander and Cordy's relationship. Wow, I'm so red in this light. I need to fix the white balance. Because the wall behind me is blue. That's what's screwing it up. The issue is that Cordy and Xander are not friends initially. They spar, right? So, like, you and I may call each other names, but at the end, we hug, we kiss, and then it's all over, right?
Yeah, but we're also not serious at all.
There's no barbs, and that's different between the two of them.
Yeah.
And while...
but, I mean, would you be nice to Cordy? I wouldn't.
But she has a redemption story when it comes to the alpha aspect. So in Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered, at the end of the episode, she tells Harmony to shut up and picks Xander.
Mm-hmm.
That story doesn't exist in the opposite direction. He cheats on her.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that's good.
No, I'm not saying you're endorsing adultery. I'm just saying, like, he's treated differently, and I think it's just a matter of it being dated. Like
Yeah.
that's
Oh, it's
like we
very
talked
dated.
about. Yeah,
It's very dated. Yeah. Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say.
Rafael Lemus in chat says, what's my favorite episode of on the or video on the channel? I really like the amends guide, even though it's too long. The amends guide has the stuff about Camus. Once we got to get into Camus and reading the myth of Sisyphus and all of that, that is so important to me to go and get The Rock. And I know that for me, The Rock is the next video on the channel. And when I don't go and get that, life sort of loses its purpose, I guess, for lack of a better term. So that conversation that started in that is very important to me. The other one is what Wild at Heart means to me is one of the first videos where I sort of spoke only personally about myself. The prom was an outtake. There's a video called The Last Dance that was an outtake from one of the top 10s. And people's response to that made me feel like the people would receive something like what Wild at Heart means to me. And then the reading for what the body means to me came out of that. But what Wild at Heart means to me, it means quite a bit. Yeah, so scrolling down.
Amends is my favorite too.
Yeah, the Camus stuff is just gorgeous. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, existentialism and the Lie to Me stuff is good.
Yeah, that's a great video too.
But the amends stuff is like,
yeah,
the Camus writing is just gorgeous.
I also like the top 10 episodes that remind us that everything's going to be all right. I think it is.
Yeah, that's my favorite of the two top 10s for sure. That opening story again about music, and music is the heart's native language, means a lot to me. Music has a way of bypassing language completely and just hits our emotions. Raven Steel says formula isn't bad when you have 7 seasons to go, though. Yeah. So I've been watching Queer Eye for the straight. No, it's just Queer Eye now. We watched the 2 seasons of Queer Eye. And I was struck by how rigid the formula was. And I can't imagine how you do that show without the formula. Like when they're shooting that content, they have to have that framework. Okay, we need these shots, this shots, and this shots in order to get it done. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I don't think formula is inherently bad at all.
It isn't.
It's good.
Yeah.
If it works, it works. That's what I think.
One of my favorite shows of all time. That's a tough one. Am I going to do this? I'm going to do this. One of my favorite shows of all time is Castle. And maybe I'll clarify, the first 5 seasons of Castle. That's fair. Some shows have a long tail. And it is the most rigid, formulaic show on earth. But it doesn't matter. Like there are other things that elevate and make it rich. I'm scrolling down. Sorry. Yes, Boris, it's a penis metaphor. Oh, wow, there's a lot of penis commentary when we were talking about that.
Hey, Nathan, we haven't seen you for ages. How are you, man?
Faith uses the R word in season 7 as well. Yes, she does.
The R word?
Yeah, the pejorative term for handicapped.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah. Men's is very good. Wild at Heart video is also excellent. Thank you, Raphael.
Formula works best when it's a starting point, not the end of the story. Yeah.
Brandon Stark says, Brandon Stark. I like that. That's cute. Not long enough. Thanks, man. Men's Guy is one of my favorites. Thoughts on vampires having sire envy?
Is that a thing?
You were my sire, man. You were my Yoda. I'm trying to think of where that might be. I'm not seeing that, Raven. I apologize. Who had the best dynamic in on the verse?
Oh, wow. That's hard. Oh. Riley and Buffy. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I think on the verse isn't that Firefly?
Oh, Okay.
Jack, so what are
Yeah.
your feelings about Firefly?
Don't shut up, Ian. Shut up, Ian. God damn it! I quit. I'm gonna go and work for PewDiePie. He will respect me.
I think Zoe and Wash easily have the best dynamic on the verse, assuming that question is limited to Firefly. Castle was fun. Yeah, Castle is like a grilled cheese sandwich to me. It's just comfort food.
Okay,
Sure.
I admit it. I haven't seen Firefly yet, but I'm working on it.
There we go.
I'm working on it.
Thoughts on the Buffy revival? There is what I think the odds of success are, and there are what I hope it is. And until an episode releases, either of those could be true. We don't know which one. Neither of them are true. And so right now, especially because there's so much negativity around it, and I get it, but I choose to focus on the hope. I would rather be hopeful that it's going to be good. And recently she came out and said that it's not a reboot, it's a sequel. So, you know, I'm just not gonna crap on it because it doesn't even exist yet. And I get so tired of cynicism. So I'm not begrudging other people theirs. I get it. I understand. It's just like I don't want to carry that. So
Yeah, I'm much more cynical myself. I think it's gonna suck, but I'm open. I'm gonna watch the trailer and I'll watch an episode or two, but I'm not very optimistic about it at all. And the onslaught starts. Eve's Apple, Boris, John. I know. I'm sorry. Terrible. I call myself a Joss Whedon fan.
I think you look like an Edward Hopper painting with a slight. I look like I have the worst sunburn in the history of mankind.
What is it with your cameras? They just don't like you.
No, this wall is teal, and so the webcam is white balancing the wrong way. If I hold a sheet of paper up in front of it, it'll work until it readjusts for this.
I see.
I'm going to get the green screen back up so that this isn't a problem. Sire Envy is in the episode after conversations with dead people. Okay. I haven't revisited season 7 enough. I'll look into it. I'll think about it. No, Jack, say it isn't true.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, guys.
I don't think so, but in general, to be a vampire, someone to do. It's interesting. I guess I don't have any feelings about it, Raven. I think we've reached the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream there. Jack, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Thanks for coming, guys. We love you. And yeah. Cheers.
I'm going to go work on the Angel script now.
And I'm going to crack the whip and make sure he actually does it.
I told him to stay on video chat to crack the whip.
Yeah. That's my job for the next few hours.
Also, Jack is working on a Discord server.
Yes. I got sick earlier this week, so that's why it's not up yet. But I'm hoping next week that I will have it live and ready to go.
Yeah, these chat conversations are fun enough. Hopefully, we can just make them possible and keep them going wherever they are. But I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Good night, everyone.
See yous.